Hello, my name is Shelley Carter, and I've been invited to speak to you guys today on how to help your child be prepared for school. And I recognize that's going to look different for different people, so I'll try to cover. And this is early childhood. All right, so to let you know a little bit about myself, I am the proud mama of your own Caitlin Cooper. I've been married, let me back up a little bit. I've been married for 39 years to the love of my life. Just ask Caitlin, he's fabulous. I have two children by marriage, and yes, and two children by birth. So I've got four kids and two grandkids. I've got pictures to show you. This is my granddaughter, Piper. She lives in Virginia with my son and my daughter in law, daughter in love. And this is my granddaughter, Tatum. She lives here in Pflugerville. She is the daughter of my son in love and Caitlin. So that's what makes me so proud. And let me tell you a little bit about my experience, why I'm able to talk to you about early childhood. I've been a teacher for over 22 years. I've taught kindergarten now. This is my second year for kindergarten. I taught first grade the year before that, and I spent 15 years in pre-K in Sundown before we moved to the Pflugerville, Austin area the summer of 2018 to be closer to, uh, yes, yes. I know a little bit about early childhood, and I am excited, and I thank you so much for the opportunity just to share you a little bit about what I know. Okay, number one thing that you can do to help your child be successful and be ready for anything in life is you need to love Jesus. That's the number one thing to help your child be successful because that helps you to love your child from a heart like Christ. I had to put that in there, first of all. Okay, now here's what I want to tell you read, 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 read. That's the very best. And read. You need to be reading to your child, and I know there's so many platforms, so many opportunities to read to your child. Read print books, read magazine articles, paper, read digital things. Read to your child every opportunity you get. That helps your children hear the cadence of language to identify that the illustrations match the words, the text, just to understand, to have experiences beyond these four walls, and that's especially important right now. So the second thing I want to talk to you about is singing. Okay, as I was getting ready for this, I decided I need to call on some assistance, and I visited with one of my very best friends from Sundown, Martha Buchanan, and she also agrees with me about singing. And she said, in fact, today, even now as an adult, if she has to remember something, she'll put it to music because there's just something about singing that unlocks that in our minds. So you can sing anything. It's time to clean up. It's not, and I know you do it as a mom. Well, and if you don't, you probably will, because that just helps our kids to hear it in a different way. And I love how Martha says it. Let me tell you right here. She says, talking and telling can easily turn to lecturing, and young kids just have other priorities. Hello, toys. That says it, doesn't it, right there? So singing is a big deal. And also keep in mind the midline, crossing the midline. This is an imaginary line that runs down the middle of your body. And if you'll help kids to cross that midline as they're singing or just as a brain break, that helps their brains get ready to learn. And also, here's a plug. Thinking about singing and music, turn on Christian radio in your home. Talking about putting things in your kids' heads that you want to be in there. Hey, that's a great and easy way to drop in what you want to have in your child's head. I remember as when Caitlin was little, that's how she would fall asleep at night, was to Bible stories that she was really interested in at the time. So those are the kinds of things that we want to be sticking like glue to our kids' brains. So when you sing a song, it helps them to learn or to pay attention, and those are good things. All right, the second thing I want to talk to you about is gross motor skills. Something that our current 3-year-old teacher in Sundown is working with her kids is to do gross motor, put things up on the wall vertically so your kids can practice, or doing it in just follow your hand. Um, if you do things vertically, that helps your kids to understand that later on they're familiar with it. Later on, they can do it horizontally. So this is pull back, this is pull down, pull across, and slant down. If you have these big gross motor movements, then as your child learns to do this from the shoulder down, then later on, when it's a fine motor thing, it's already starting to build, has become muscle memory. Handwriting Without Tears is a curriculum that I've used for years, and it was developed by an occupational therapist. And one of the trainings that I went to, a physical therapist was telling us that something fun to try to help our kids do that, develop that gross motor, is to put paper up on the bottom of a low table. And so they can lay on their backs and they can write with a marker or something so that their whole arm is involved. Hey, go outside with a bucket of water and a paintbrush and let them paint these big body movements on the side of the house. So it's water, it's free, and everybody's happy. Um, so again, pull back, pull down, pull across, and slant down. All of these are things that we also use when we're writing. Okay, something else that you want to help your child, not just to develop these gross motor, you also want to build those hand muscles. Um, so Play-Doh, I'm sorry, moms, but Play-Doh is huge. It really does help build those hand muscles so that they're ready to hold those pencils and those writing tools later on. Crumpling paper and tearing paper. So and make it fun. Crumple up paper and have a snowball fight on a day when it's too hot to go outside. Tearing paper is also helps build those fine motor skills and build that hand muscles. So maybe not just paper, maybe junk mail or construction paper or anything, newspaper. So, and then something else that the 3-year-old teacher in Sundown uses now is those grabbing robot tools, that you open and close on this end and it has the pincher on the other end. So she's using those to help build strong hand muscles. So any of those things are fun ways to develop those skills for little guys. When you're ready to start letting your child, or when your child wants to, write horizontally on a flat surface, you might want to try a broken crayon or a broken pencil. Keep in mind that if your kid is holding a big long pencil, that all this weight up here at the top, that's hard to hold, it's hard to manage. So a broken pencil, that's something else they teach us in Handwriting Without Tears, is to use stubby pencils. It helps to make that grip more appropriate. Okay, I also want to talk about scissor skills and cutting. So don't expect for your little guys to be able to hold the scissors correctly. So they're not going to right early on. Now, by the time they get to kindergarten, I want them to. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So there's 2 rules for scissors. No running with scissors, and scissors are meant for cutting. Now, notice I did not say that scissors are meant for cutting paper. Now, we do have that rule in kindergarten, but early on, when they're little bitty and they're just learning to hold those scissors, it's fun to cut other things, like weeds, anything in nature. They can cut. Bring them outside and let them cut leaves, or leaves, make it into a nature center. Then you can build something with them, have a craft time, and it kind of feels like you're breaking the rules a little bit. Grass, anything like that, anything outside is fun to use, and it helps them develop those skills. You can cut Play-Doh. So you're building the hand muscles, and then you use the scissors to cut the Play-Doh after you've rolled it up. So you have a 2 for right there. What about food? Oh my goodness, cooked spaghetti. Too fun to practice your cutting skills. And of course, paper. You might want to try coffee filters or construction paper because that has a little bit more resistance. You might try strings or ribbons, but those are a little bit more difficult. So you might save those for a little bit later. Okay, so that's scissors and cutting. Oh, I want to talk about how I want scissors by the time you come to kindergarten. Later on, 4, 5, pre-K, kindergarten age, you can lay the scissors down where the small ring is is by your thumb, and the bigger hole, so you can pick it up like this, to where the scissors are out here at the front. It's kind of hard to show you like this. But then when your child cuts, thumb goes on top. So that's always, and scissors out in front of you. And that way they're not coming into me all like this. Of course, I've been teaching kids how to hold scissors for a long time. So, but just a tip, thumb goes on top by the time you enter kindergarten. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is for early math skills. Early on, look for patterns. You can find patterns anywhere. And then once you start noticing them and pointing them out to your child, it's going to be so fun to see how your kids start noticing the same patterns and say, hey, Mom, check this out. Patterns in the concrete floor, the bricks that you see, patterns in the tiles, patterns in the lines in the ceiling, patterns on a piano keys. Help your child to see patterns, because that leads to seeing the orderly progression in math and in numbers. So lines, patterns, that's a cool skill to develop. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is executive functioning skills. Now, I don't know if you've heard that term or not. Probably you have. These are life skills, and there's generally considered to be 3 different parts to executive functioning skills. It's your reasoning, your ability to think clearly, flexible thinking, your working memory, and self-control. And usually in early childhood, when we're talking about executive functioning skills, we're really interested in that self-control piece. But that working memory piece is good too. Put a few items from the kitchen, cover them up with a washcloth, and then ask, do you remember what Mommy put under there? And then big reveal, whoa, so fun. And then try, and not many, you don't want to make it too difficult. 2 or 3 things, and then see if you can build up, and then let them do to you. See how you're doing with your working memory. So executive functioning skills. Now, the big piece, as I said, in early childhood is that self-control piece. How well is your child able to have self-control? And these are the things that we want to develop in our kids. Now, early on, you want your child, you're going to need to be for your child that frontal lobe voice, because they don't have it. I remember, and it's not developed till they're about 26. I remember when my friend Martha Buchanan comes up to me, we were still in Sundown, when Brock turned 26, and she says, oh, congratulations, Brock is now fully able to think. His frontal lobe has fully developed. And I was like, whoa, yay! But anyway, the point is, your little guys don't have that yet. So you're going to be helping them. You're going to be verbalizing for them. You're going to be expressing things for them so that they can learn how to express that for themselves, so they don't have to just resort to fight or flight. You can say things like, it looked to me like you hit her because you didn't want to share that toy with her. What do you think you could have done differently? You could tell her maybe later, or you could tell her you can have it when I'm done. So you're going to want to help your child think through these things. Give them tools. Give them words that they can express. So Martha said that what she does in her classroom, they talk about what happened. They talk about what would have been a better choice. And if they can't come up with a better choice, then they offer suggestions. And that's valuable. That's good stuff. In a pre-K classroom, in a kindergarten classroom, in your own living room, these are things that are valuable. What happened? What would have been a better choice? And then, here's some ideas. Maybe you could have, so that helps your child develop those thinking skills, that self-control. Just walk him through that. Okay, let's move on to some of the kindergarten skills that we're talking about. So when your child comes into my kindergarten classroom, generally I like for him to be able to recognize his own name, recognize some of the letters, probably the first letter of his name, maybe some of the letters in his name. Some academic skills, I always make sure that my kids know early on that there are 3 ways to read. You can read words, which is how we usually think about when we talk about reading. You can read the pictures in a book, and you can retell a story. So somebody says, "Oh, Miss Carter, I can't go to the library center. That station, I can't read." Well, ha ha ha! You can read when you retell your friend that story that Miss Carter told you yesterday in story time. You can read when you read the pictures. And then soon you're going to be able to pick out some of those sight words that we've been learning. So 3 ways to read a book. All right, children that come into my classroom, I love for them to be able to follow 2 and 3 step directions. And that's a skill that I used to tell my parents even in pre-K. Start teaching your child to follow 2 and 3 step directions. And you need to be, as you begin that purposeful teaching, think about what it is. So you could say something like, I would like for you to put your plate in the sink and let's see, no, push in your chair and put your plate in the sink. So that would be 2 things that they could do. Push in your chair, put your plate in the sink. And if they get distracted, they say, oh, remember that second thing you read? Oh, yeah, put your plate in the sink. Remember, you did push in your chair. Great work. Now, let's put that plate in the sink. And then you can move to 3 step directions. So what I would love is, like when you're coming into my classroom, and this we practice on this, even now, the 8th week into school, turn in your folder, put away your lunchbox, hang up your backpack. And I tell them just like that. Turn in your folder, put away your lunchbox, hang up your backpack. Something that would help is if I had pictures that went along with that. So if it's something really important, hey, add a pictorial directory for that. Cut out, find a picture of what you need online and stick it up on the wall. That's huge to help kids recognize, okay, this one I'm supposed to do. I push in my chair and then I put my plate in the sink. So these are great skills. I also would like for your child to be able to listen. Now keep in mind that appropriate listening is 1 minute for every year he is old. So a 3-year-old can be expected to listen for about 3 minutes, unless, of course, it's something that he's very interested in, and that's a good thing, too. But keep in mind, that's why brain breaks are so huge. And remember what Martha says about, toys. So sing it. If there's something that you want that child to attend to listen to, make up a song. Any bingo, B-I-N-G-O, that goes to a lot of things that you need to teach your kid, just for you. So brain breaks are always good, and cross that midline. That helps your child become ready to learn something new. Okay, and another important thing is self-help skills. Okay, I'm going to tell you a true story. Friday in my classroom, we were getting ready to go. I can't remember. We were fixing to go do something. We had to wash our hands. And y'all, we've washed our hands this year, probably like you have, till our hands are about to fall off. But we need to wash our hands one more time. All right, everybody, let's get our hands washed. We're fixing to go. And little girl, true story, comes up and she holds her hands out. She says, Miss Carter, would you please wash my hands? Okay, y'all. I was very kind, of course, but no, baby, go wash your own hands. So please, 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 make sure your child is ready to wash his own hands when he comes to school. And even by the time even if your child is not going to school, by the time he's 5, he doesn't need to be saying, Mama, please wash my hands. Now listen, I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, I'm an early childhood teacher. I know, I get it. It is so much easier to wash that baby's hands for her than to wait for her to do it. I get it, I know. However, you are not doing her any favors by doing it for her. So encourage her, and if this is something that needs to change in your own home, you can do it. Baby steps. Encourage her. Well, you do this hand and I'll do this hand. Baby steps, anything like that. And in fact, even if you have a little one that you're just teaching to do those skills, and you may have to come along behind and do it. But self-help skills are key all the way up. And if your child is having extreme difficulty doing something, then back off. Pick out something else that they can do for themselves. Toileting, hey, we understand accidents happen, but you can help out by making sure that their buttons, their pants don't have buttons on them, or they don't have these big buckles, overalls on, unless that is really important to her to wear that to school that day and she knows how to do it. We will wait for her. So you can pick. All right. By the end of the kindergarten year, here's some of the things that your child can do at the end of kindergarten. I'm talking about the end. So I can write my first and last name. I know all my letters and the sounds. I can rhyme. Oh, y'all, I forgot. Rhyming is huge. When I was teaching pre-K, I would tell my parents that a child that is having difficulty rhyming by the end of the pre-K year may, most likely, might have difficulty learning to read in kindergarten. There's such a strong link. So, rhyme with your kid till you are blue in the face, till you can't stand it. Believe me, I understand that too. But pointing out rhymes to your kids as you're singing all those children's songs, rhyming is huge, and that's a big deal. Some other things, sight words that your child will be able to do. Read CVC words, consonant, vowel, consonant words. Identify 2D shapes and 3D shapes. Add and subtract, or we say separate. We say joining for adding, separating for subtracting within 10, and writing a simple story. So those are things that your child will probably be able to do by the end of the kindergarten year. Now, I don't want you to sit your baby down and start saying, Miss Carter said, Shelley Carter said, you have to do this by the time you're 6. Y'all, children develop at such wildly divergent ways and stages. And it's so different, so different. Please don't put unrealistic expectations on your child or on yourself. Keep in mind that there's no, these are goals. Now, later on, it's a little bit different, but early childhood, it's different. So don't be beating yourself up if your child is not measuring up to what you think he or she should be doing by a certain stage. Keep in mind, you are your child's very best advocate. Speak up. Say, hey, do I need to be concerned about this? Ask someone. Ask questions. Where do you see my child? Where do you see her skills fitting in with where we are at this point in the school year or at this point in our curriculum? Ask questions. Volunteer at school if your child is going to school. Now, I know you're not going to be able to go up to the school right now. Hopefully that's going to change. These are crazy times. But volunteer. Now, even if you can't get up there, you have a pair of scissors at home. So let your kid's teacher know that you are available to cut out things. Just let your teacher know. I know you have tons of stations and probably need some help cutting or writing or taping, whatever. I'm here. So, and that's just a neat connection with your child at school. Also, keep in mind, as we were talking about, you are your child's number one best advocate. Keep in mind that your pediatrician is, of course, a very good resource. Talk to your pediatrician if you have questions or if you have concerns or if you have wonderings. Holler at me. I'm available to share what I know. I'm glad to help. Okay, so now that I've said all that, I want to circle back to what I said at the very beginning. I said that the best thing you can do for your child is to have a faith relationship with Jesus. And guys, I know it's tough. I know it's so hard. I know you do not have 1 minute to call your own. I know you don't. If you get a minute to read your Bible, I know it's a big deal. I understand. I remember propping up my Bible while I was putting on makeup. Hey, I've done that recently too. I understand what it's like to not have time to yourself. However, I do know where that strength comes from. But let me just tell you, just to give you a little bit of insight, and what gives me purpose is my relationship with Jesus. What gives me my why do I do what I do is my relationship with Jesus. I feel like he's called me to be a teacher right now. This is where I am. And y'all, it's hard. And I know he's called you to be a mom. And you guys have lots of other hats, lots of other responsibilities. I know it is difficult, especially as we've said in these crazy, uncertain, hard times. One day last week, I was just overwhelmed. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get it all done, and I just turned my back to the door. It was late, like 7 o'clock at night. I was still at school. beating myself over the head. I just sobbed. I mean, like, wow, it was sad. And I was just so overwhelmed, and I was thinking, I'm the only one here. Why can't I figure out how to get this done? Why can't I make all this happen? What's wrong? What's going on? And I still knew in all my angst, I prayed and I said, God, help me to be the teacher you want me to be. And then the next morning, I love how God does stuff like this. I loved it. Jesus Always by Sarah Young. She writes awesome devotionals. And I opened up and the bookmark was not on the right page, but I opened it up. It was crazy. These words, and you know, you hear people say that they leaped off the page. They really did. Listen to this. Don't worry about your inadequacy. What? I was sobbing about my inadequacy. She says, don't worry about your inadequacy. Instead, accept and embrace it. What? It's the perfect link to Christ's limitless sufficiency. Wow. What a great reminder that I am insufficient. And I know often as a mom, I'm guessing, because that's how I felt, even now, I don't have what it takes to be the mom, the wife, the teacher, the Gigi that God has called me to be. And yet, my inadequacies are the perfect link to Christ's limitless sufficiencies. And here's the scripture that goes along with that. And my God will meet all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:19. Y'all, glorious riches? I want to be a part of that. And that is, as a believer, that's there for me. Now, listen, those centers didn't magically get done. I still had the work, but I recognized that where I need to turn is my relationship with Christ. That's where I have joy even when it's tough. And I know that you go through the same thing. I know that you face uncertainty. I know that you face questioning your inadequacies. I'm there. And I'm sorry to tell you that suddenly you don't all of a sudden grow up and mature and you don't have that anymore. But the answer is a relationship with Jesus. So I want to make sure that I've told you everything. I wanted to tell you, I think I have. Thank you so much for letting me have a chance to spend time with y'all. I admire you so much. You moms, I admire you so much. Making things happen, taking care of your little ones in these difficult times. So let me know if there's anything I can do for you at any time. I'm here to help. Thanks, guys. Take care.